Navajo Nation, the largest federally recognized tribe in the United States, with over 400,000 enrolled members. Their land base stretches across Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, 27,000 square miles, bigger than West Virginia. This size makes the Navajo Nation not just the largest tribe, but a sovereign nation within a nation, with its own government, courts, and police. Historically, the Dene people, who call themselves the Dene, meaning the people, faced immense challenges. In the 1860s, many were forced on the Long Walk, a brutal 300-mile march to internment camps in New Mexico, with thousands dying along the way. Despite this, the Dene rebuilt. They became known for sheep herding, intricate weaving, and silver jewelry, cultural traditions that continue to define Navajo identity today. In World War II, Navajo code talkers played a crucial role by developing an unbreakable code based on their language. Their efforts helped win key battles, and today they are celebrated as heroes across America. In the modern era, the Navajo Nation faces significant struggles like poverty, unemployment, and limited access to clean water. But they continue to rise, rebuilding their economy through energy projects, tourism, and art, strengthening healthcare and education, and leading one of the most ambitious native language revitalization programs in the country. The Navajo Nation represents resilience. From surviving forced removal to shaping world history with their language, to now fighting for cultural renewal and sovereignty, their story is proof of strength, survival, and the ongoing fight to keep traditions alive.
Cherokee Nation, the second largest tribe in the United States, with over 300,000 enrolled members today. Most live in Oklahoma, but their original homeland stretched across the Southeast, Georgia, Tennessee, and the Carolinas. That land was lost during one of the darkest chapters in U.S. history, the Trail of Tears. In the 1830s, thousands of Cherokee were forced from their homes and marched more than 1,200 miles to Indian Territory. Disease, hunger, and exhaustion claimed the lives of around 4,000 people. But even through that tragedy, the Cherokee rebuilt. They've always been known for adaptability and leadership. In the early 1800s, they created a written syllabary through Sequoyah, which allowed thousands to read and write their language within a single generation. They formed a constitutional government before removal and continued that tradition in Oklahoma. Today, the Cherokee Nation is one of the most economically powerful tribes in America. They run massive business ventures in construction, health services, and hospitality, generating billions annually to support programs for their people. They operate hospitals, primary care clinics, Head Start programs, and even their own media outlets that broadcast news in both Cherokee and English. Just as important, they're fighting to keep their language alive through immersion schools where children are taught entirely in Cherokee. The Cherokee story is one of tragedy, survival, and renewal. From forced removal on the Trail of Tears to becoming a thriving sovereign nation today, the Cherokee stand as a symbol of resilience and cultural pride.
Choctaw Nation, with about 200,000 tribal members, is the third largest Native American group in the United States and the biggest tribe in Oklahoma by land area, covering over 10,000 square miles. Their story is complex, marked by both cooperation and betrayal. In the early 1800s, the Choctaw were among the first tribes to sign treaties with the United States, even serving as military allies in conflicts like the War of 1812. But this alliance didn't protect them from forced removal. In the 1830s, they became the first tribe marched along the Trail of Tears, with thousands dying on their way to Indian Territory. Despite the suffering, the Choctaw rebuilt their communities and established schools, churches, and government. One of the most inspiring chapters came later. During World War I, Choctaw soldiers became America's very first code talkers, using their language to send unbreakable messages on the battlefield, decades before the Navajo code talkers became famous in World War II. Today, the Choctaw are a thriving sovereign nation. They operate successful businesses, casinos, and manufacturing ventures that create billions in revenue. These profits fund healthcare systems, housing programs, and scholarships for their citizens. They also run one of the largest tribal health systems in the country, serving not only Choctaw people, but many others in their region. From forced removal to military heroism to economic revival, the Choctaw story shows how survival and innovation can turn centuries of hardship into progress.
Sioux Nations, often called Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota, together count more than 170,000 members across reservations in the Dakotas, Minnesota, Montana, and parts of Canada. Known as master horsemen and buffalo hunters, they shaped classic Plains culture and remain famous for their warrior traditions. Throughout the 1800s, the Sioux resisted U.S. expansion with legendary leaders. Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse are iconic figures, guiding their people through battles like Little Bighorn in 1876, where Sioux and Cheyenne forces defeated General Custer's 7th Cavalry. But resistance was met with devastating retaliation. The Wounded Knee Massacre in 1890 killed hundreds of Lakota men, women, and children, symbolizing the tragic end of free Sioux life on the plains. Yet, the Sioux spirit never ended. They continue to fight for sovereignty and land rights. The 20th and 21st centuries have seen major legal battles where the Sioux demand compensation and recognition for lands guaranteed by treaty, including the sacred Black Hills. At Standing Rock in 2016, Sioux youth and elders galvanized international support while protesting the Dakota Access Pipeline, drawing attention to indigenous rights and environmental justice worldwide. Culturally, the Sioux are experiencing a powerful revival, reclaiming ceremonies, revitalizing the Lakota and Dakota languages, and restoring buffalo herds as both a source of food and cultural pride. The Sioux story is marked by heroic resistance, deep tragedy, and ongoing resilience. From the days of Sitting Bull to the front lines of Standing Rock, the Sioux remain a symbol of courage, sovereignty, and the unbroken will of Native nations. Chippewa, also known as Ojibwe or Anishinaabe, numbers about 170,000 enrolled members across the Great Lakes region, stretching from Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota into Canada. They are one of the most widespread indigenous nations in North America. The Ojibwe are legendary canoe builders, using birch bark to create light but sturdy vessels that opened up travel and trade across vast waterways. They were central to the North American fur trade in the 17th and 18th centuries, exchanging beaver pelts for European goods, and they gained incredible influence through these networks. Culturally, they are also known for their sacred traditions like the Midewiwin, or Grand Medicine Society, and for stories that continue to guide Anishinaabe identity today. In the modern era, the Chippewa Nation has been at the center of fights over treaty rights. Landmark cases in U.S. courts have reaffirmed Ojibwe hunting, fishing, and gathering rights promised in 19th century treaties. These battles weren't just about fish, they were about sovereignty, survival, and honoring legal agreements. The Ojibwe showed that treaties are living documents, not just words on paper. Culturally, Ojibwe artists continue to shape Native music, literature, and beadwork, while many programs work to strengthen the Anishinaabe language. Today, they're leaders in protecting natural resources, defending water quality with the rallying cry, "Water is life." The Ojibwe story is one of adaptability and resilience, masters of trade, protectors of treaties, and guardians of the Great Lakes. Apache. These people, about 100,000 strong today, live across Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. They are not one single tribe, but several closely related groups, including the Mescalero, Chiricahua, and White Mountain Apache. Together, they're renowned as some of the fiercest defenders of native homeland in U.S. history. For generations, the Apache were mobile bands, skilled in hunting, raiding, and resisting encroachment. Names like Geronimo, Victorio, and Cochise remained etched in legend for their long struggles against both Mexico and the United States in the 1800s. Geronimo himself evaded capture multiple times, becoming a symbol of native resistance and defiance. The Apache Wars were some of the bloodiest on the frontier, and they only ended with forced relocations and imprisonment, leaving deep scars that still echo today. Yet, the Apache people endured. Their culture remains rooted in ceremonies, storytelling, and strong family kinship. The Sunrise Dance, marking a girl's transition to womanhood, continues as one of the most important spiritual traditions. In modern times, Apache tribes have created resilience through economic development. Casinos, ski resorts, and other hospitality ventures bring revenue to fund education, housing, and healthcare. They're also active in protecting forests, water, and sacred sites in the Southwest. The Apache story is one of survival through struggle, warriors who resisted to the very end, and communities today who continue to protect both their land and their culture.
Blackfeet, the people, who call themselves Nitsitapi, meaning the real people, has about 100,000 members today, mostly in Montana, with related bands across Canada. Traditionally, they were one of the most powerful tribes of the Northern Plains, and their culture revolved around the buffalo. Blackfeet hunters relied on the herds for food, clothing, tools, and shelter. They became master horsemen after acquiring horses in the 1700s, earning respect as skilled warriors who defended their vast territory stretching from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains. For centuries, the Blackfeet were known as fierce protectors of their land. Like many Plains tribes, their way of life was devastated when the buffalo were nearly exterminated in the 1800s. Disease, starvation, and broken treaties left the Blackfeet struggling for survival. By the late 19th century, their numbers had collapsed, but they endured. Today, the Blackfeet are leading conservation and cultural restoration efforts. They play a central role in bringing buffalo herds back to the plains, not only for ecological balance, but also for cultural healing. The tribe operates its own college, healthcare programs, and initiatives to combat diabetes and other health challenges. They also protect sacred areas like the Badger Two Medicine Wilderness, fighting to preserve their ancestral lands from industrial development. The Blackfeet story is one of power, loss, and renewal. From warriors of the plains to modern-day conservation leaders, they remain guardians of both their culture and the land.
Creek. The Muscogee Nation, often called Creek, has about 90,000 citizens today, primarily in Oklahoma. But their original homeland was the southeastern United States, across Georgia, Alabama, and Florida, where they were once a regional powerhouse. In the 1830s, the Muscogee were among the tribes forced along the Trail of Tears into Indian Territory. Thousands died on the journey, and the survivors rebuilt new lives in Oklahoma. Despite this, the Muscogee kept their traditions alive, and their determination shaped one of the strongest tribal governments in the country. Historically, the Muscogee were skilled farmers, town builders, and diplomats. Their confederacy of towns was highly organized long before European contact. That spirit of structured government continues today, with the Muscogee Nation's own constitution, courts, and elected leaders. Modern Muscogee culture is thriving. Their government runs hospitals, schools, and housing programs, and they've launched economic ventures in casinos, tourism, and media. Equally important, they're leading efforts to revitalize the Muscogee language through immersion schools and community classes, ensuring future generations can speak the words of their ancestors. From southeastern homelands to Oklahoma, the Muscogee Nation has endured displacement, rebuilt political strength, and emerged as a modern leader among Native nations. Their story is one of adaptation, sovereignty, and cultural survival. Iroquois Confederacy. Often called the Iroquois Confederacy, is a union of 6 nations, the Mohawk, Seneca, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Tuscarora, with around 80,000 members today. Their confederacy is one of the oldest living democracies in the world, and their ideas strongly influenced the U.S. Constitution. Formed centuries before European contact, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy was guided by the Great Law of Peace, which emphasized unity, collective decision-making, and diplomacy. Each nation had independence, but they came together in council to make joint decisions. This structure allowed them to become a powerful political and military force across the Northeast woodlands. Their influence even reached Ben Franklin and other founding fathers, who studied their system as a model for federal union. Historically, the Haudenosaunee also played a crucial role in colonial conflicts, skillfully balancing alliances between European powers to maintain independence. Today, the Haudenosaunee remain leaders in sovereignty movements and legal cases over treaty violations and land claims. They're also experiencing a cultural renewal, reviving language schools, protecting ceremonies, and restoring lacrosse, which originated with the Haudenosaunee as a global sport of indigenous pride. The Confederacy's story is both ancient and alive. From shaping U.S. political thought to standing at the forefront of indigenous rights today, the Haudenosaunee demonstrate how powerful unity can be across centuries. Pueblo Tribes. These peoples are a collection of about 19 distinct communities in New Mexico, with a combined population of around 75,000. They are some of the oldest continuous communities in North America, tracing their ancestry back thousands of years to the ancestral Puebloans. They're most recognized for their adobe dwellings and multi-story villages, like those still standing in Taos Pueblo, some of which have been lived in for over a millennium. Pueblos are also agricultural masters, known for cultivating corn, beans, and squash in the Southwest's dry climate using sophisticated irrigation and terrace farming. One of their most defining historical moments was the Pueblo Revolt of 1680. Under the leadership of Po'pay, Pueblo warriors drove Spanish colonizers out of New Mexico, reclaiming their freedom for over a decade. It remains one of the most successful indigenous uprisings in North American history. Today, Pueblo communities hold on to vibrant cultural traditions. Their pottery, especially black-on-black designs from San Ildefonso, is world famous. Dances, ceremonies, and festivals continue as living traditions, connecting past to present. Each pueblo has its own governance, blending modern operations with ancient customs. From ancient dwellings to defying colonial rule to preserving artistry and spirituality, the Pueblo story is one of deep continuity. Few cultures anywhere can trace such an unbroken line between past and present.
Lumbee Tribe, with around 55,000 members, is based primarily in North Carolina and is the largest tribe east of the Mississippi River. Unlike many others, they do not have full federal recognition, which has shaped their long history of advocacy. The Lumbee have mixed heritage, descended from native peoples of coastal Carolina intermarried with Europeans and Africans. Despite this, they've maintained a strong identity, naming themselves after the Lumber River that flows through their homeland. Since the late 1800s, the Lumbee have fought for recognition. Congress granted them partial recognition in 1956, but without the benefits and rights that most federally recognized tribes receive. This has fueled generations of activism to gain full acknowledgement of their sovereignty. Culturally, the Lumbee maintain their own dialect, traditions, and rich storytelling heritage. They've also had strong regional influence in education, especially through institutions like the University of North Carolina at Pembroke, which was first established to serve the Lumbee community. Today, the Lumbee are prominent advocates in areas of civil rights, cultural pride, and Native representation. Their story is less about relocation or wars than about persistence, holding on to identity in the face of uncertainty and bureaucracy. More than anything, the Lumbee symbolize determination, a people who refuse to let their place in Native history be overlooked.
Osage Nation, with about 20,000 members today, is based in Oklahoma, but their traditional homeland covered much of the Ohio and Mississippi valleys before being pushed west. One of the most dramatic chapters in Osage history came in the early 1900s. Oil was discovered on their land, making the Osage the wealthiest people per capita in the world. But that success turned tragic. Between 1910 and 1930, scores of Osage were murdered in what came to be known as the Osage Reign of Terror. Greedy outsiders exploited and killed Osage families to gain control of their oil wealth, sparking one of the earliest FBI investigations. Despite that trauma, the Osage rebuilt. Today, their government runs successful businesses and casinos, generating revenue for citizen services. Cultural projects, including art, language programs, and traditional ceremonies, are flourishing again. In recent years, the Osage story gained even wider attention, with the best-selling book Killers of the Flower Moon and its film adaptation, which brought the Reign of Terror to global awareness. From wealth and tragedy to revival and cultural pride, the Osage story reflects both the best and worst of American history. But above all, the Osage Nation today stands as a powerful reminder of survival and resurgence.
Seminole Tribe. They have around 20,000 members today, divided mainly between Florida and Oklahoma. Their story is unique because they were never fully conquered by U.S. forces, something no other Native American tribe can claim. In the 1800s, the U.S. government tried to remove the Seminoles from Florida through a series of wars. These became some of the longest and costliest Indian wars in U.S. history. Fighting from within the Florida swamps, Seminole leaders like Osceola helped the tribe resist expulsion. Though many Seminoles were eventually relocated to Oklahoma, a strong community remained in Florida, where their descendants carry on the nation today. In the modern era, The Seminole rose to global prominence through business innovation. They became the first tribe to open and operate high-stakes bingo halls in the 1970s, sparking the modern tribal gaming industry. Later, their purchase of the Hard Rock International brand cemented them as one of the wealthiest native nations in the world. Despite economic success, cultural preservation remains highly important. The Seminole language, traditions, and ceremonies are being actively passed down to younger generations. Even with modernization, they maintain ties to their historic resilience, still defining themselves as the unconquered. From swamp resistance to global business leadership, the Seminole story captures strength, persistence, and the ability to adapt without losing identity.
Hopi Tribe, numbering around 20,000 members, lives primarily in northeastern Arizona on one of the oldest continuously inhabited landscapes in the U.S. Their villages, some dating back over 1,000 years, remain central to Hopi life today. The Hopi are deeply spiritual, seeing themselves as caretakers of the world, entrusted to live in balance with nature. Their agricultural skill is legendary, growing corn, beans, and squash with little rainfall through dry farming techniques perfected over centuries. Culturally, the Hopi are most famous for kachina dolls, which represent spiritual beings in their religious ceremonies. These carvings embody their teachings, blending art with sacred meaning. Their rituals, dances, and ceremonies continue to guide the community spiritually and socially. Modern Hopi life includes serious challenges, struggles with water rights, economic development, and encroachment on sacred land. Yet they remain vocal guardians of the earth, often taking leadership roles in protecting resources, especially in legal battles over water and land. Hopi artistry, from fine pottery to kachina carvings, has gained worldwide admiration and economic value. But for the Hopi, these creations aren't just art. They're extensions of culture, spirituality, and identity. The Hopi story reflects continuity, ancient farming, spiritual responsibility, and artistry still thriving in the modern world, guided by a sacred duty to preserve balance. Nez Perce, with about 10,000 enrolled members today, traditionally occupied vast homelands across Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. Historically, their numbers were much greater, and their influence far-reaching. The Nez Perce are well known for horse breeding, especially the Appaloosa, a distinct spotted horse they developed and prized. Their mobility and skill made them central figures in the Columbia Plateau. Their most enduring legacy, though, comes from the 1877 Nez Perce War. Led by Chief Joseph, they attempted a 1,400-mile retreat toward Canada to escape forced removal. Pursued by the U.S. Army, they fought bravely at multiple battles, but were eventually forced to surrender just short of the Canadian border. In his sorrowful surrender speech, Chief Joseph declared, "I will fight no more forever," words that still echo as a symbol of Native perseverance and tragic loss. Today, the Nez Perce Nation works to preserve fishing rights guaranteed to them by treaty, especially salmon runs, essential both environmentally and spiritually. They promote cultural education, operate museums and tourism ventures, and serve as environmental stewards, protecting rivers and wildlife in their homelands. The Nez Perce story is one of leadership, resilience, and justice. Horse breeders, warriors, and guardians of the land, still carrying Chief Joseph's moral legacy into modern struggles for sovereignty and survival.